Hello, we're telling the Bible story in 12 words. The sixth word is promises. In the history of the nation of Israel, the people have been scattered. Those who have not been killed by the Assyrians or the Babylonians have been taken into exile to Babylon. They had been corrupt and violent. They didn't value human life. They exploited the poor and they no longer trusted God. So God let their enemies conquer them. But even before they went into exile, God promised them that 70 years later he would come to their rescue and bring the exiles home. Those who still trusted God would be able to return home and start to rebuild. Their history speaks to us of a bigger story, of humanity in exile from God because of our selfishness and wrongdoing. And the bigger story is about how God brings us home to himself. So the promises of God made back then are for us too in this bigger story. God is trustworthy. He says what he means and he does what he promises. We have all turned away from God and gone our own way, yet he still promises us forgiveness and hope if we will turn back to him. He says, "For I know the plans I have for you. They are plans for good and not for disaster, to give you a future and a hope." The promises God had made to Abraham were to be fulfilled not only by the Jewish nation, but by all the community of faith in Jesus. The whole world is blessed by Abraham's descendant, Jesus. God's promises are part of a covenant, like a kind of treaty between a king and his people. God promises to be our God. We commit to being his people. The Old Testament nation at the time of the exile expected God to care for them, to protect them, however they behaved. But it doesn't work like that. God cares about the poor and the vulnerable. He cares whether we are good or evil. He will not tolerate our wrongdoing. The treaty fails because people fail. But God had a plan to rescue us and to enable us to keep our side of the treaty. He says, "And I will give you a new heart, and I will put a new spirit in you. I will take out your stony, stubborn heart and give you a tender, responsive heart." God's heart was never to leave the nation of Israel scattered. He planned to bring their children and grandchildren home. We have turned away from God and gone our own way. We are scattered. Our relationship with God is broken. Our relationships with each other get broken. But God loves us and invites us to come home to him. Thank you for listening. Bye.